All right, guys, we'll go ahead and get started. Appreciate y'all being here again tonight. We'll start off the way that we have each week. Anybody have any successes that you want to bring up? Any challenges that you had this past week? Or, something from previous weeks that you wanted to talk about to start us up? Go ahead, Preston.
Mine would be is I've had a terrible habit like the last 3 years is I wouldn't have success for a weekend and then I would go watch an MLB player or something like that and I'd see their swing and try to imitate it because like it worked for them. And this weekend I just like dropped it and came up with something on my own and it felt relieving that I wasn't using someone else's stuff. Like it was my own thing. And I had more success with it than I have in the past. So
that's awesome. I can tell you as a coach, I go through that too. I'll see something that a player does, and I think, oh man, this will be perfect for this one player. And then I try to teach it to them or whatever, and it doesn't work. And just gives them, it might be contradictory to something that I've told them before, and it just confuses them. So that's awesome. Hopefully that builds some confidence for you. And I think that's an important thing. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, that kind of idea of self-evaluation. So hopefully that sticks. So great. That's awesome, Preston. Go ahead, Mace.
I think for me, big success over the weekend was being able to go from seeing the 90 and the upper eights that we were seeing last week to the 7 and low eights that we were seeing this weekend and being able to stay at those slower speeds.
Yeah, the adjustability. That's a big piece. I'm sure you guys have all had it happen, or you maybe said it to yourselves, and certainly heard teammates say, "Oh, I can't hit this guy; it's too slow." And then they see good velocity, they can't hit that either. If you can only hit in a range, then that's going to be tough for success. And I think going in with that mindset of being able to adjust to various velocities is really good. So that's awesome. Anybody else? Any successes, challenges? How did the weekend go as a team? Pretty good, maybe average. Okay, go ahead, Mace. Maybe.
So I just want to say and I to heart and like work on that. And it was like I was consistently good at it, but like starting to think about it more, kind of like grasping that and savoring little moments almost.
Didn't quite catch all of that, Mason. Your connection is breaking up a little bit. But it sounded, I'm going to try to hopefully kind of piece it together through context. Sounded like it was maybe focusing on like small pieces, small victories, maybe. Okay. I see a head nodding, so we'll go with that. Okay. I don't know. Ryan, is there anything you wanted to add? I see that you're in here. Is there anything you wanted to add or bring up from the weekend? Maybe not. All right. I'll check back in with him. So there is something that Ryan wanted me to bring up, and kind of on that note of self-evaluation. So you all were given your video, right? Swing. I know hitting. I think maybe pitching video was in that a little bit too for you guys that pitch. I'm not sure if it was. I know hitting was, and something that I think is really important to talk about when looking at video. Obviously, video can be a really great tool in terms of evaluation. But what can happen, and this is something to think about as you go through, is we can really focus on, and I do this as a coach, and I'm guilty of this with evaluation of players, is we focus so much on the things that need to be fixed that we go in with a negative mindset or a negative lens of only looking for the things that are wrong. And especially with video, because it's, obviously when we're doing things, we're seeing it from the first person view. We're coming from an internal perspective. Having that external perspective can be really helpful. But again, if you go in with only the mindset of, okay, this is everything that's going wrong, this is what I need to fix, Preston, what you brought up, that trap of, okay, I see this thing, I'm going to try that. I see this thing, I'm going to try that. Always looking for something to include in your mechanics or to change in your mechanics can be really detrimental with that. So the reason I bring this up is you all now have this access to video that you've probably seen yourself hitting before. You've seen video of yourself before, but now maybe it's more detailed breakdowns. I'm not sure exactly what the format of the videos are. But if you're getting, breakdowns from Jordan or somebody like that, now you're getting a more kind of fine lens of maybe corrections that need to be made within your mechanics. Be careful of how you approach it. This gets into our talk about self-talk. I wish I could do this. What I'm going to post, actually, I can do this from my phone. There was a really great video on Twitter. Let me see if I can find it. It was a video of Aaron Donald. For those of you guys who don't know who Aaron Donald is, he's been one of the most dominant defensive linemen in the NFL for 10 years. He's been an all-pro every year he's been in the league. I think he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer after he retires. And there was a video that came up that I saw on Twitter earlier this week, and I meant to save it, and then I forgot. I'm going to see if I can look it up real quick. But it goes through like his self-talk routine before a game and what he says to kind of get himself prepared. Yeah, here it is. So I'm going to share this. I retweeted it for those of you who follow me, if any of you do. I reposted it from my account, but I'm going to share it into the GroupMe chat. And what I want you to do at some point, doesn't have to be now, but I want you to kind of look at the things he tells himself. And this tweet actually does a good job of giving like some pointers about what the correct, I guess is the term, positive self-talk should look like. And it's got kind of 3 pointers with it. So I just posted it in the GroupMe chat. Take a look at it when you get a chance. But what I want to get to with this idea of self-talk is we are what we repeatedly tell ourselves, right? We all have this kind of narrative of who we are as an athlete, as a person, all of these identities. We talked about all the identities a few weeks ago. all these identities you have of yourself, you create a narrative about yourself within that identity. So like as a student, you know, you have a narrative about who you are as a student, things that you're good at, subjects that you like, subjects that you don't, your ability to pay attention in class, your ability to do math, whatever the case may be. You've created a narrative of yourself based on your past experiences and the experiences that you compare yourself to others. You do it as an athlete as well. And so this idea of self-evaluation is a really great tool if it's utilized in a helpful way. What can happen as you look at this video and you get more critical of your evaluation of yourself is you can frame everything in a deficit mindset of these are all the things that I'm bad at that I need to get better at. And if you're constantly telling yourselves the things that you're bad at, what do you think your mindset is going to be in terms of your talent? That I'm a bad player, right? Because I'm always focused on the things that I don't do well and the things that I need to correct and the things that I need to get better at, which is a good thing, right? We all have things that we need to get better at that we need to correct, but consistently focusing on those and only those things can set ourselves up for this mindset of I'm not good enough. And what happens when we get in important moments, we go to what's our most dominant reflex, our most dominant response. And if we're constantly telling ourselves negative things, then our most dominant response is going to be having a negative mindset of ourselves. So be aware of that. And a good way to understand what you're doing is to take notes as you're going through your video. You know, every time you watch a video, take notes of what you're noticing, take notes of what you're thinking, and that'll get you aware of the patterns that you're noticing in your thinking. Again, we want to understand the things that we need to get better at, right? We want to understand the things that we don't do well. But at the same time, we also want to understand our strengths and be able to acknowledge our strengths. Again, that's why I asked, like, what were the successes that you had through the weekend? Okay. If you're only acknowledging the failures or the challenges or the struggles, then that's the mindset that you're shaping of yourself as a player, of someone who only struggles, who only has challenges, when we all know that that's not the case. So as you're going through doing your evaluation in your video, mark the things that you're doing well as well. You know, mark the things that you want to continue to do. If your barrel path is really good, or you notice your timing, your balance is really strong on that one swing, make note of those things. Those are things that you want to continue to do, along with whatever those things are that you may need to address and improve upon. So with that said, does anybody have any questions? Like, as you started to look at your video and kind of go through it, has anything come up that you wanted to bring up? Any questions you had about, how to use this video? What do I do with it? Yeah, go ahead, Preston.
How do we draw a line between like what needs to be critiqued and like tweaked a little bit versus like being too harsh on ourselves, or like overthinking certain movements or like whatever's in the video? Yeah,
that's a great question. I think the two easiest ways to do that are one, to bounce ideas off your coaches. They're obviously going to have a pretty good idea of what your swing needs to improve upon, and they might be able to say, I know you think this, but actually this is pretty good and you're doing well with this. The second piece is compare it to your production on the field. If you're performing well, but you're constantly nitpicking these things, that's a sign that you're being too critical of yourself. One thing that I like to talk about with hitting specifically, because hitting is by far the hardest thing that we do in baseball, is to understand where success and failure comes from in terms of our production, our results. So we in our program, we talk about three different things. We have our mechanics of our swing, our timing, and our swing decisions. And so depending on what kind of video you're getting, you may not be able to evaluate all of those things. That's where your kind of post-game reflection or your post-at-bat even reflection really comes in, is, was I on time right there? Was that a good pitch to swing at? If those two were good, if I got a good pitch and I put it, my timing was good, then you understand maybe there's a mechanical thing there. That might be why you miss. So evaluating in that sense your in-game performance, and then comparing that to what you're seeing on video as well. And just understanding, like, evaluating yourself for success. What does success mean for you in terms of my swing? Is it, did I get a hit even though I had a bad swing? Did I still get a barrel on it? Did I have a great swing and swing through it? Like, you have to kind of individualize what success looks like for you and what that means. And that can help you figure out where that line is for being sufficiently critical, like critical so you can get better, and not going over that line into overly critical where you're just dog cussing yourself every time and destroying your confidence. That's a really, really good question, Preston. Any others that have come up? Anything else that you're not sure of or want clarification on in terms of the kind of that evaluation? And again, video is one tool of this, right? You don't do a complete evaluation just from video. You combine it with your post-game reflections, your thoughts about what your swing felt like, what your at-bat looked like and felt like, how confident were you, how comfortable were you in the box, your approach, did you have an approach? Were you able to stick with it, or did you go up without one and you were just kind of relying on athleticism? So all of that, kind of comes together in your evaluation. And that's hopefully things that you're doing consistently throughout, not just games, but throughout the fall as well. There was one other thing that I wanted to bring up, and now I'm blanking on it. I should have written it down. Yeah. Oh, this is going to kill me. I cannot remember what it was. Did we talk about the reflections last week, the post-game reflections and kind of the structure of that and expectations and all of that? I see a couple heads nodding. Okay, I thought we did. Man, there was something else that I wanted to touch on, and now I can't think of it. Yeah, it's not coming to me. Hopefully it'll come to me throughout the week this week, and I'll make sure to make a note of it and write it down so I can bring it up next week. Honestly, guys, that's pretty much all I had for you. I wanted to address the self-evaluation piece of that. And that's an evolving process. You're not expected to be great at it right now. And that's why I say, bounce your evaluations off your coaches, especially, going into practice. If you can talk to them a little bit before or after practice one day, or, when you're in the cage just kind of working and somebody's there, talk to them about how you're evaluating yourself and then see if that matches up with what they're seeing. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, then that gives you another data point to understand like where you feel you are and where other people feel that you are. And maybe there's some inconsistency there that you can work through. Any other questions or anything that anybody else wanted to bring up for tonight? Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Do you have any suggestions on how to shy away from if we're watching video, shy away from looking at the swings that only have results, like focusing on the only swing that you make contact on and stuff like that?
That's good. That's a really good question. I think it depends on what you're looking for in terms of what you want to evaluate. Sometimes it might be beneficial to only look at the swings where you put the ball in play. It really depends on what you're looking for in terms of the video. I think that, and that actually brings up another good point of, looking at video with a purpose. I know some of you've heard me say this, and I know Ryan's pretty big on this as well within the program of having intent with the things that you do, and watching video, evaluating yourself is no different than that. So, you can look at the same video in a multitude of different ways. You may be looking at, strictly one piece of your swing. There's a mechanical adjustment that you were looking to make, and maybe you want to see that and see if there's any inconsistencies with that. Or maybe, we've talked about visualization as a tool, imagery as a tool. One really powerful use of imagery is to see yourself having success. And if you have video of yourself having success, then that can lead to an easier way to kind of imagining yourself having success. So, Preston, I don't want to say you shouldn't ever do that. I think sometimes that can be useful. I think it really comes down to what's your intent with why you're watching the video. Like, watch it with a purpose to see or to have an idea of what you're looking for or what you want to evaluate yourself on. Really good question. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan. I don't see any video, but you're still on mute. Make sure you unmute yourself.
Sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Oh, okay. No worries then. All right. Well, if that's it, if there's no other questions, then we'll have an earlier night tonight. How many weeks are left in the fall? When does the fall finish? 3 weeks? 2 weeks? Okay, it's coming up soon. So again, I'll remind you, like, reevaluate your goals. Make sure that, this has been a really long season for those of you that played summer as well. You've gone from March now through October with really maybe a month off. You maybe had, most of August off. That's been pretty much it. So again, finish strong these last couple of weeks. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and maintain your intent, maintain your purpose with the last 2 weeks. There's still a lot that you can do, a lot that you can benefit from this time. So really challenge yourself. This is the hardest part of anything that you do long-term, not just baseball, but anything, is trying to stay away from just going through the motions. Have purpose and have intent with practice this week, with games to this weekend. Go out and enjoy yourselves. And then, we'll be back next Monday. So we'll only have a couple of these meetings left. We'll be back next Monday and we'll continue chatting. Hopefully you guys have some takeaways from the weekend, some things to share. And I'll talk with Ryan and see if there's anything he wants me to go through. And hopefully what it was that I wanted to bring up will come back to me so I can actually bring it up next week. All right, guys, have a great week. Again, if y'all need anything, reach out to me, group me or text. Check out that tweet that I posted, the Aaron Donald thing. I think it's a really cool insight into how, one of the best that's ever played at his position, how he utilizes self-talk to get himself ready to perform at a high level. So I think there's some valuable insight that y'all can take from that, and kind of, again, continuing to evolve and mold your own self-talk, your own routines to prepare yourself for whatever your top performance is. All right, guys, have a great night.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
See you, boys.
Thank you.
Coach.